Good afternoon to the fellow viewers. Welcome to UOW Malaysia KDU Jingle Mingle 2021, brought to you by SCCM and Dice Collective. I'm the host Imran Islah Khalid, and my co-host.
Hi, I'm Wesley, and here we are going to bring you some game development projects during the year of 2020 and 2021. And together with us right here, right now, is Clocked In, a GPS2 project.
So let's introduce the team of Clocked In.
Hi, my name is Vanessa, and I'm the art lead for Clockton.
Hi, my name is Braden. I'm the designer for Clocked
Hi, my name is Yi Chen. I'm also the designer for Clockin.
Hi, my name is Chong Chun Zhen, and I am one of the programmers for the team.
So you have met the team themselves. So let's talk about a bit what is Clocked In.
Clocked In is a game about an individual that works in an office as an office worker or a salaryman, depending on where you're from. And he basically gets tasked by the boss directly to do extremely mundane stuff like delivering food and or drinks, messing around with the timetable schedule of the day, meetings and such, printing papers, photocopying papers, typing in reports, things that are extremely mundane in a everyday office worker rather than actually contributing directly to the office motive itself. And yeah, basically just he doesn't do the correct things. He was not tasked to do the correct things.
Right. So now, before we start off and move on to the next question, Clocked In actually won silver in the Sintok International Games and Gamification Awards 2021. So to the team work behind Clocked In, congratulations on winning the award. Hope you guys are doing really great.
Thank you.
Yeah. So right. So I'll just move on to the questions, and this one goes out to the team. So this is a GPS2 project. So what was the feeling when the team came together and met each other for the first time?
I think for GPS2, because how it worked was some of the members were already pre-selected, and we could like put in uh people that we haven't worked with into the extra slots. So the team dynamic was very different compared to our experiences beforehand from GPS1, since most of us have not worked together before, and it was like a whole process of going back to learning the basics of working with different sorts of people, energy, the time scheduling, and like different methods of like communication stuff. Yeah.
That's quite really good if you're especially doing into the game project itself and you're finding your project if you haven't worked with your different people and your classmates. So when during your GPS2, did you experience anything new when doing the game?
So as for the experience that we could learn and also the new things that we learned from GPS1 would be we have already had the scoop downs as we learned from GPS1. We have large expectation from GPS1, and compared to GPS2, we know more and for the time beings and what the teams can do. So we have the smooth timelines for the teams there.
Right. So GPS2 is definitely before GPS2. There is GPS1 where you guys met with different team and worked together differently. So what was the expectation you guys had for GPS2 that's different from GPS1, and what are the things that you've changed yourself coming into GPS2?
As
Uh,
I
yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
Okay, so as we just I have said just now, that sorry that there's some interrupting between the questions. As also we learned that in the time units and the team skills all over from GPS one brought to GPS two, could have a better production timelines and management would better than compared to GPS one.
And to add on that, actually, when we came around together as a team in GPS2, when we were pitching the games and such, we were generating ideas. We came about the decision that was unanimously voted to along each other that we are to make a game that is a playable demo, sort of, not a complete game. So a game that can just show off the idea and yeah, somewhat leave it at that, I guess. Yeah.
think like the takeaway from like GPS 1 most importantly was we learned how to operate on a battle for the team, not battle for the game. So our expectations for the game, especially we kind of like scope it lower than we most were probably done during our GPS 1 time. And how we felt about the game development was really prioritizing the team's morale and having fun with developing the game. And more than the like making a perfect product with the game. So we gave ourselves some sort of space to fail, but also a bar of quality that we wanted to push in the end.
That's quite really good insight for especially students who's just going to GPS 1 and also GPS 2. So they would know where the bar is going to happen. So let's move on from that. Let's ask the design questions. So during your time during your clock in game in GPS 2, what were the themes and genre that you had to follow for the project?
So as for the themes that given from the lecturers, which would be illusion, COVID, and also serious, the teams have come into meetings in discussion rooms, and after few pitches that we've gone through, and we decided to go into serious the themes, and along to the genre, we are free to do in any genre as long as it's on a mobile platform.
So anything you want to add on to that, Raiden?
So in regards to that, actually, we had a re-pitch. We when we came about the ideas and such, we actually came up with a lot of ideas, seemingly close around like 11 to 15 somewhere there, if I remember correctly. And we picked out 3 that we really like had some sort of standing ground on, a foundation and such, right? So we knew what things that we can work on and what can we benefit from the ideas and such. So when we pitched the 3 ideas, it seemed that the lecturers have gave us advice on when making these ideas. It was uh, more important to target things that can be fun, since our motive was to create a game that is can deliver its idea and generally not a complete game lah, right? So we essentially we were told that we were targeting for the fun aspect, and we were not none of the game pitches that we gave were sort of fun on paper when we worked around it. The idea that we all selected at the end of the pitch was a potion brewing game where, following a similar story to Red Riding Hood, the grandma fell sick, and the granddaughter has to create these potions to help clients medicine and such to earn money to help with the grandma's sickness, right? So the lecturers told us that the gameplay wasn't seemingly fun for the player, even though we were trying to justify it with the fact that the player is given a lot of room to mess around with the ingredients. Yeah, so that did not seem very fun. So afterwards, we had to do a re-pitch in which we actually, following the serious theme, we landed upon an office worker, and yeah, that's how Clockteen was founded. The foundation of it. Yeah.
I see. Yeah. So it's actually very amazing how you explain the process of how you actually started out from a potion brewing game, and then now moving on to this office environment mini game sort of game. So I'll have to ask that, like, how did why did you guys chose specifically on this to design this game in this office environment?
Uh, at first it just came around like as a soft idea that what if it was just because at that time the game Among Us, the deception game Among Us, was blowing up, was like everywhere. And actually our clique ourselves kind of played it as well, and we were kind of intrigued by the fact that the mini games in Among Us actually are more time consumption and just time wasting mini games in that, for the imposters to actually attain their objective, right? So in that sense, we kind of formed the idea that these tasks are actually extremely mundane, and even though it works towards the objective, of like you can win via performing tasks. You can also actually win by just voting out the imposters. In this sense, we came across the idea that it's a serious matter, right, to work in an office, but what if the boss tells you to do things that you make it feel like you are doing something but not essentially doing the important things, right? So yeah, that's how it came about with the office environment and mundane tasks.
Quite interesting you had that thought process of working in an office and like want to gain that knowledge, show people how people work in the office environment stuff. But it goes also, I have played the game before, and I would ask that why did the game choose the design when the player promotes they have to do more tasks?
For that, I'll have to pull from experience, in the sense that I have a couple of friends that are actually working in customer service. So every day they get to deal with customers of variety of whether like they are confused customers, they are angry customers, and such and such. But in the sense that when you get promoted, in general, you are obviously carrying more weight on your shoulders and you get more responsibility. So in this sense, you are also like getting more things to do, right? But in our game, you're getting more things that are not really useful, not really relevant to the job that you're actually taking. So yeah, in that sense, you still get more things to do, just more mundane things.
Right. So thank you to the designers for those questions. Now we're gonna move on to the next section. In this section, we're gonna ask the game art related questions. So this one would be more towards Vanessa, the game artist for Clocked In. So Vanessa, what are the biggest design challenges that you have encountered for Clocked In?
I would say there were two. One was not really design, it was more of like optimization, because Clocked In essentially is a mobile game, and it was our first time learning how to use 3D assets, making it as optimized as possible. So one of the things that we had to do actually was delete a lot of like faces from the 3D object. So if you actually turn the camera around, like all the objects had like no face at all, or like at the bottom of it, in order to optimize it better. And the second challenge that we had, more design based, was actually how would we create like great UI for a vertical screen. So it was that, plus we had a pretty short time scope for it. I think we only had like 1 week to create all the UI for the game, and including like the mini game. So we wanted to implement some sort of like immersion to the UI. So for example, like some of the things that designed, like the main menu was like a clip-on board. The credits and settings and the help scene were also sort of like influenced by everyday office like scenes. You can see like taskboard and kind of help menu, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Quite inspiring that you managed to finish UI in just 1 week until your deadline, most likely. And
Never again.
and also the design of the UI, it does make sense and also fits the game itself. So I applaud you for that. Based on that also, was the artwork in the office was based in a real life location or something that reminded you of something?
Essentially, we wanted to go for like a more a more Malaysian style. So like Malaysian elements into the office. But one problem in there was a design problem, in which we weren't sure if whether the game, like if we were to show like foreigners, whether they could understand local references, things like that. So I think eventually we kind of like reverted it back to your typical like Western college art, because anyone who played the game would understand the references. Yeah.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about the character artwork. So what was the discussion around when drawing and designing the characters?
So we were trying to go for like a more like fun and quirky kind of a style, and I believe like our conversations were based off games like Animal Crossing, that kind of thing. And I believe that even in terms of like character design, the reason why like our characters have like two balls as hands because it was easy to animate. You didn't have to like every time you pick up or object, your hand has to move like that. So it just kind of like stick to your hand, like, you know. Yeah.
It's quite interesting you decide to base it on Animal Crossing. But moreover than that, as I played the game, I saw the boss himself, and I was thinking, was the boss designed from Mr. Dr. Ike himself?
Yes. So we designed the boss of our great Dr. I, which we thought would be funny because during our GPS2, he was actually one of the mentors for another team. And I thought like I think my team thought like, oh, it would be fun and cute to have like a little cameo inside, you know, extra flavor.
Oh, I'm for sure Dr. Ike will be very honored, and I believe you guys really love him. So
Yeah.
moving on to the tech questions. We have Chong to answer these questions. One of it, what were the engines and language that was used for the game?
For our game, we use the Unity engine and the C# programming language by default. We chose this game engine because we used it before during GPS 1, so we had a general understanding of how to use it, and it was naturally the safest option to go for. For the text, we also had a mobile games development course on the same semester, so it will be more efficient to learn the ropes along the way rather than learning a completely new game engine from scratch.
Right. So, when it comes to using the engine that and language that you mentioned, is there any challenges? Is there any like tech challenges when it comes to making this game out using those engine and language?
Personally, I'd say not really. Since we already had a basic understanding of the engine since GPS 1, there wasn't really much trouble in general. But we didn't have any experience with the other game engines like Unreal Engine, so we couldn't really make a comparison to them. For the programming language, it's kind of the same. There weren't really any issues either because we had like this amazing feature called Intellisense, and it basically provides all like the helpful information, autocorrects, and suggestions. So it makes our programming code much more easier to do, much more convenient.
That's quite very efficient work you guys have done it, and also this is based on engines that you have learned previous class. So, but during your project itself, there is the use of GitHub itself to work with different teammates and to combine the game in one. So, did you had any problems using GitHubs?
Definitely, we definitely have problems using GitHub. So for our team, our work process is that we do our own stuff in our own branches in GitHub, and then after we're done, we merge them into the main branch. Naturally, due to the lack of experience on GitHub, there were quite a number of merge conflicts that occurred throughout the whole production process. Mainly, it was usually because we forget to update our own branches before we start working on them, and naturally that causes conflicts because we keep trying to push an old build into the main branch. Fortunately, these conflicts didn't really affect our process. It didn't affect our flow too much, and it didn't like slow down our production process in general. But this is definitely an important thing to take note for future work.
Right. So, I think that's about all of the questions that we have for our team behind Clocked In today. So, I think as one final sign off, is there anything that you would like to advise to your juniors or anyone who's into game development in GPS2?
Don't overscope. Yeah. Just set your expectations to a demo, a good playable demo. Don't overscope. Just don't.
So, how about the designers? Any advice? Any short advice you want to give?
If if you are looking for design advice, please look for Mr. Johan. He's amazing design lecturer, especially when it comes to level design. If you're looking for narrative design, please look for Mr. Shen. He is extremely helpful in that regard. Yeah.
Right. How about Yishen? Any advice you want to give?
I don't think any. I'm afraid that I've already said if you have any regards, and then you just look for that good lectures that will help you a lot for that aspect.
Right, yes. We love you, Mr. Johan, in case you don't know. So right, how about you, Chong? Any advice you want to give your
Okay.
junior?
So for text, if you guys are working on GitHub, very important thing I think personally is always update your teammates when you try and add new stuff into GitHub, when you try and push new content. Always remember to let your team know, update them so that they don't get off the loop and they don't end up like forgetting to add in the new stuff into their branches, because that's like the most common mistakes that a lot of people do up until now actually. Try to keep your branches up to date. Try to keep your stuff up to date. Don't end up pushing like old stuff into the project, which can like delay your production flow, your production process in general.
Actually, I'd like to add on something onto the design advices, right? For designers, I think try to either use your phone or book or something like that, right? Something to make remarks on. Whenever an idea pops up to you, immediately write it down somewhere, right? Like just whether it's useful or not, just immediately just write it down, right? It's an idea, it's something to work around, whether it's like small or big, doesn't matter, just write it down, and then when the time comes and such, you can refer back to your notebooks and such, you're able to come up with something. Yeah, so you can technically never run out of ideas in that way, considering that you haven't, if you have been writing for a while, you have a gigantic notebook or notepad full of just random ideas, right? Like everyday things. Yeah. So do
And,
that often, and yeah, you find yourself overloaded with ideas instead.
I see.
and I would
So
like to add for like,
yeah,
can I
sorry.
add? For the artists, please learn how to use the game engine. Don't rely on the programmers to like import everything. Learn the game engine. It will definitely like speed up the process a lot. Yeah.
I see. But so yeah, right. I think that's about all the time that we have with us. Yeah, this has been our interview with the team behind Clocked In. So once again, I would like to congratulate the team, to the team behind Clocked In for their amazing work. And also, yeah, it's a pleasure to have you guys on the show with us. So once again, thank you guys very much for joining us. So yeah, we would also like to thank everyone right now who are watching or listening to us. Yeah, thank you for tuning in. So this has been UOW Malaysia's KDU's Jingle Mingle 2021. We still have more interviews coming up that is brought to you by the School of Computing and Creative Media and also Dice Collective. So I am the co-host, Wesley, and my host.
And I'm the host.
Yeah,
Imran.
so and yeah, see you next time. Thank you.
You.
Thank you to the team for joining Jingle Mingle. It was really nice to know more about what does it take to create Clocked In. If you're interested in trying out Clocked In, check out the link below. Coming up next, tune in to the compilation of the works of our game development students.